Hi, welcome to the Academy. I'm Mark Cleghorn, and this is a quick film on using one of our free downloads. In this case, we're using the landscape watercolour smart object file that you can download from the members area free of charge. And really what we're looking to do is show you how to replace the image if you're new to smart objects, but also how to adjust the effects itself. When you first download it, basically you'll also find that the graphic is on the front, and all you need to do to begin with is basically switch that off, and you can even throw that away, okay, because you don't need that for future reference at all. Then you're left with your master document, and I would definitely encourage you to resave this, but you can always go over to the members area and download it again if you wish. Really what we're looking to do is look at replacing the object first, or the image first, and then we've got some other options. As you can see, they're switched off on the palette. Brightness, hue, saturation, and a black and white option there as well. The reason we've kind of put them into a group is just they're easier to see, and if you're getting started with Photoshop, lots of layers can be a little bit confusing and so on with it. So to change the image to begin with, all I need to do is basically double click onto the thumbnail of the image. This opens up a PSB, so kind of a smart object file has another image behind it, and this is the one that we're going to replace. So if I just kind of go ahead and I drag on, let's say, a raw file to begin with, when I drag on a raw file, it's going to open up the image in RAW first, and this is where you can kind of go in and adjust any of the kind of the color. So perhaps we want to just cool that down a touch, saturation as well perhaps, and then if you need to do any work as far as exposure, if you haven't already done it, you can go ahead and do that there. Obviously things like highlights and whites and everything else with it, I'd encourage you to do as much as you can before you put the image into the smart object. The reason being is that it just makes it quicker. So let's press OK to that. And this will now update the smart object here. So what we can see is that the bounding box of the smart object is smaller than the image behind. Now what that means is physically the photograph that we're trying to replace, yes, is a smaller file. And if I drag the box outwards, which I'm going to do, okay, but if I do, I am adding some interpolation into the image. So in other words, Photoshop is going to make up the pixels again. If you had an image that was equal to the same size of our smart object document or bigger, you would find that it would naturally fill the whole frame. Okay, let's just drag that, and we'll drag it out to the one edge and double click it. That kind of sets it, or we could have hit the tick tool. Now all I need to do is press S, Control S to save, and then you're going to get this dialog box come up, which is to maximize the capability. If I press OK, you can see what it's done. It's kept both of these together. If you want to keep the file slightly smaller, you could flatten those two layers. But the difference being is that you'll basically have no option to double click here to open it back up into the RAW. That's why I kind of dragged in the RAW file. Let me just press cancel to that. But what I've done, when I saved it before, it now has updated the image, the main image itself. Let me just prove the point. So if we just do view, and we kind of, Windows arrange, and we go side by side. So let's do two verticals together. Yeah, so this is our PSB file, and this is the effects file here on the left hand side. So if I select this image and I just turn it off for a minute and I resave it, what you're going to do is re-update the main file as such. So once you save the smart object file, let's do that again, it then updates the actual other image, and you can shut this down without any trouble. All you need to do is double click onto here again, and it'll open up the actual PSB file. So then this is an image now that obviously needs a little bit of lightness and brightness and so on with it. So I would go in and just in the brightness, just toggle the brightness open, click onto the sun, and then this is where you could obviously go in and actually just make it brighter. It is supposed to give more of an artistic effect, of course, so we can lose a little bit of detail. And then I think it's just a little bit yellow. So let's go into, we'll toggle this on first of all, then we'll toggle the box and we'll click onto the hue and saturation. It kind of needs, I think, the reds adjusted. So let's take a little bit of the reds out to cool it down a touch. And then we'll go down to the yellows and we'll cool the yellows down as well. So what we've got now is a watercolor image, as you can see. Let's just zoom in here. You've got all the effect itself. So if we toggle these closed now, if you want to affect the paper quality, in other words, the how strong it is, then all you need to do is toggle the image effects and mask. And then within the paper itself, you can start to actually kind of reduce it down, increase it up if you want more of a texture there. And in the same way, if you want to affect the likes of the other effects we're given to it, because behind it you've got like a line image. If you don't want this sharpening of the edge and so on with it, you can do that here. But realistically, what we've got is these textures, and all we need to do to change the texture down a little bit is just start to reduce it here. Okay, so as far as the different image effects are concerned, you can just change to suit the individual images. But when you resave this now, if you kind of just want the image itself, you would flatten the image and save it as a JPEG or a PNG file, whatever you save in. If you want to keep it as a multiple document in case the client doesn't like it, I would definitely save this one as a new PSD file under the customer's umbrella. So in other words, you can go back and tweak some things if they don't quite like it as such. But like I was saying to you, there's quite a lot of adjustments that you can do here. On the other hand, if you just want to make a quick fix and just change the image, then you can do that. So let me just go File, Save As, and I just do boudoir. That saved the PSD file, which means if I go back into the home part here and I click back onto the original file, you can see this still exists. So if I want to change that image again, just open this up. Let me go and grab another landscape image. I'll just drag that on top. And I'll save it. And then if I uncheck at the top box, you can see that's been changed. Okay, so all you need to simply do to change this for a different photograph is double click onto the thumbnail. That brings open the PSD document. You then drag in your image. If it's the same size, it'll fit straight away. If it's not the same size, obviously you need to expand up. You then save the image and immediately it updates the actual image itself. And then, as I was saying, you can decide whether you want it brighter or lighter, changing the color and so on. So download it, have a bit of fun with it.